Emotion is a powerful force that, if left unchecked, can lead us to impulsive decisions, deep regrets, and choices we would never make in moments of calm. In the heat of a situation, it's easy to act without reflection, driven by anger, fear, or pride. The great Stoic sages taught us that to live with true freedom, we must learn to master this force, allowing reason to guide us at every step. When we observe the lives of the greatest masters of wisdom, such as Marcus Aurelius, Epictetus, and Seneca, we notice that they cultivated a daily practice, reflecting before acting. For them, internal silence and mental calm were keys to avoiding errors prompted by impulse. They did not deny emotions. Instead, they transformed them into something useful, channeling them to act wisely. Acting wisely does not mean suppressing what we feel, but finding a balance between the heart and the mind. Emotional control gives us clarity, allowing us to make decisions that truly reflect our values and goals. The Stoic practice teaches us to be masters, not slaves, of our emotions. In this video, I will share with you 7 Stoic secrets for not acting on emotion, but rather with wisdom. Clear your mind, prepare to learn profound lessons, and apply them to your daily life. If you are committed to no longer letting emotions dominate your actions, comment below, "I will no longer act on emotion." Don't forget to like, subscribe to the channel, and activate the notification bell to receive more valuable content like this. Lesson 1. The Calm Gaze of Reason. With the calm gaze of reason, you will become unshakable by learning to set aside what you cannot control. Epictetus teaches us that Stoic wisdom seeks serenity amid chaos, and the secret to this lies in mastering the art of separating what we can and cannot control. When we talk about not acting on emotion, we are, in fact, speaking about recognizing the dividing line between what is our responsibility and what is beyond our reach. This is the first and most powerful secret that Stoics offer, the calm gaze of reason. Imagine a boat navigating turbulent waters. The crew cannot control the wind or the currents, but they can adjust the sails and steer the helm. Similarly, in life, we cannot control the behavior of others, external circumstances, or the future, but we can control our reaction to these forces. When we are swept away by emotions, it is often because we are struggling against what is outside of our control. Anger arises when someone does not meet our expectations. Fear grows with the uncertainty of the future. Frustration dominates us when we try to force outcomes that do not depend on us. Epictetus, in his Manual for Life, emphasizes the importance of understanding what is truly ours, what is under our control. He reminds us that our thoughts, opinions, and choices are in our hands, while everything else, what others think, external events, and even the weather, is beyond our power. Recognizing this is the secret to acting wisely, not emotionally. How many times have we acted impulsively, only to regret it later? Perhaps it was an argument with a friend, where words spoken in the heat of the moment hurt deeply, or a hasty decision at work motivated by fear or anxiety. In both cases, the ability to discern between what was under our control, our words and actions, and what was not, such as the reactions of others or the outcomes of our choices, was at stake. The calm gaze of reason invites us to take a step back before reacting and to reflect on the situation. The first question should be, can I control this? If the answer is no, the emotion is leading us down a path of unnecessary suffering. Wisdom is accepting reality and choosing a more measured and conscious response. Marcus Aurelius, in his Meditations, speaks of the need to be attentive to first impressions, which come laden with emotion and impulse. He describes how observing these impressions can neutralize their force, preventing impulsive reactions. The secret is not to deny what we feel, but to not allow those feelings to control us. The calm gaze of reason is a practice that we cultivate over time. It does not arise overnight. Stoics encourage training the mind, just as we train the body. In every situation, we have the opportunity to choose how to respond. We can react blindly, driven by anger, fear, or sadness, or we can pause, reflect, and act with reason. This conscious choice to respond with wisdom rather than emotion is what elevates us. This does not mean we should ignore or suppress our emotions. They can be seen, understood, and even respected. The true Stoic strength, however, lies in knowing that emotion is a part of the experience, not its guide. Acting by reason is choosing what is best for us in the long run, not what seems urgent in the moment. One story illustrates this practice. It is said that Seneca, the famous Stoic philosopher, once witnessed the destruction of his home in a fire. Instead of despairing, he reflected on what was under his control. He could not extinguish the flames, but he could choose how to react to the loss, accepting what had happened and maintaining his serenity. This Stoic attitude is not indifference or coldness, but an inner strength. By recognizing what we cannot control, we free our minds from frustration and anger, allowing our choices to be guided by reason. This Stoic secret, the calm gaze of reason, teaches us to take a step back, discern what is ours to control, and accept the rest with serenity. When we learn to act this way, we become unshakable. The world may continue to spin around us, but our inner peace remains intact. Lesson 2. The weight of judgment. Do not react to the momentary impulse. Often, what seems like an insurmountable obstacle is, in fact, a construction of our perception. Marcus Aurelius, the great Stoic philosopher, teaches us that to act wisely, rather than emotionally, we need to understand the power of judgment and how it affects our decisions. Frequently, we react impulsively and automatically because our initial perception tends to distort reality. Stoicism, however, invites us to pause and analyze the situation before us, preventing the first impression, laden with emotions and hasty judgments, from dominating us. Marcus Aurelius reminds us that what we see as an obstacle or threat is often merely a creation of our minds. The impenetrable wall we believe exists arises from intense emotions and how we interpret events. This wall is made up of expectations, fears, and assumptions. However, by questioning our perceptions, we discover that many of these obstacles are merely illusions. The true challenge is to adjust how we interpret reality, rather than attempting to change it. The Stoic concept of impression teaches us that an impression is how we interpret an event or situation. When something happens, our minds immediately create a narrative. For example, when we are offended, our first reaction may be anger or resentment, but according to the Stoics, it is up to us to analyze this impression before reacting. We should ask ourselves, is this really an offense or just an emotional interpretation of the facts? This allows us to decide with greater wisdom and thoughtfulness. One of the biggest challenges in avoiding impulsive reactions is the lack of time between the event and our response. We are conditioned to act quickly, without thinking of the consequences. The Stoic secret is to pause and reflect. Upon receiving unexpected criticism, for example, it is common for our first reaction to be anger or frustration. However, the Stoics teach us the importance of stopping. Instead of reacting, take a deep breath, observe the situation from a distance, and ask, is this criticism fair? Is there something to learn here, or is it just an opinion? This space for reflection allows reason to guide our response. Another essential point is our perception of suffering. Often, what causes us pain is not the events themselves, but how we interpret them. Marcus Aurelius reminds us that what hurts us is our opinion about what happens, not the event itself. By changing our perception, we transform the emotional experience we have. Imagine you are stuck in traffic. The initial reaction may be frustration, anger, or impatience, but that is just your interpretation. The traffic jam is neutral. Your frustration comes from the thought that you are wasting time or should be somewhere else. However, what if this situation were viewed as an opportunity to listen to an audiobook or reflect? By adjusting your perception, you change your emotional experience. Marcus Aurelius teaches that the mind adapts and transforms itself into what it faces. This means that by stopping emotional reactions and seeing things clearly, our minds become stronger and more resilient. The secret lies not in avoiding challenges, but in facing them with a new perspective. When we avoid impulsive reactions, we train our minds to be more balanced and wise. Applying this secret in daily life is transformative. Instead of allowing emotions to dominate us, we should slow down and question our impressions. Does what we are feeling truly reflect reality? Are we judging fairly? By developing this habit, we avoid many impulsive actions that could lead to regret. This Stoic secret teaches that true power lies in our hands, or rather in our minds. We do not need to be prisoners of our first impressions or our emotional impulses. By cultivating awareness and reflection, we learn not to react impulsively, thus building a life guided by wisdom rather than fleeting emotions. The weight of judgment may be great, but the lightness of reason is even greater. Lesson 3. the refuge in prudence. In daily life, we are often challenged by situations that provoke intense emotional reactions. In an instant, anger, frustration, anxiety, or euphoria can overwhelm us, and in those moments, acting impulsively is one of the greatest dangers to wisdom and balance. Acting hastily can lead us to decisions that do not reflect who we truly are. Prudence, however, is the safe refuge for those who wish to act wisely, and this is the third Stoic secret. In Stoicism, prudence is an essential virtue, representing the ability to think before acting, reflect on the consequences of our actions, and assess whether we are acting in accordance with our values and goals. Marcus Aurelius, in his Meditations, states that the soul transforms into what it thinks, indicating that our actions are shaped by the thoughts and intentions we cultivate. When we allow emotions to guide our actions, we let confused and disordered thoughts take control. The practice of prudence, on the other hand, brings clarity and serenity to each choice. Imagine a moment of extreme tension when someone offends you, and your first reaction is to retaliate. Acting in anger can lead to words or actions we may later regret. The moment passes, but the consequences of impulsive actions remain. Prudence gives us the ability to take a deep breath, step back, and evaluate. Is this reaction justified? Will it bring something positive? Am I truly acting in accordance with my values, or am I being guided by emotion? This pause for reflection connects us with our deeper selves, allowing us to act in alignment with our principles. For the Stoics, this daily practice of prudence was essential. Epictetus reminds us that while we cannot control external events, we have complete dominion over our reactions to them. Prudence, then, does not mean ignoring our feelings but directing them wisely and productively. A classic example is the story of Seneca, the Roman philosopher, who lived in a time of great political instability, where impulsive decisions could cost lives. On one occasion, one of his students, overcome by anger, wanted to retaliate against a rival. Seneca calmly asked him to reflect on the consequences. He reminded the young man that anger is fleeting, but the results of our actions can be lasting. Waiting until the next day allowed the student to reconsider his choice, acting with prudence and avoiding regret. The practice of prudence requires a deep self-knowledge. The more we understand our emotions, the better we can identify the moments when they are about to overwhelm us. For this reason, the Stoics suggest daily self-assessment exercises. One of them is the nightly retrospection. At the end of the day, we review our actions, thoughts, and emotions, questioning where we were impulsive and what we could have done differently. This habit strengthens prudence, making it a natural part of our being. Another effective exercise is mental preparation for challenging situations. Before a tense meeting, for example, visualize how you would like to act, remain calm, listen before reacting, and speak only when you are sure your words are guided by reason and not by emotion. This kind of preparation strengthens our ability to resist impulse, avoiding hasty reactions. The greatest challenge of prudence is that it requires patience and self-control, qualities that are difficult to cultivate in a world that pushes us to react quickly. We live in a time when we are encouraged to respond immediately, whether on social media, in traffic, or in daily interactions. However, the Stoics remind us that true strength lies in resisting the impulse and allowing wisdom to emerge. With the practice of prudence, we cease to be mere reactants to our environment and become architects of our lives, guiding our destinies calmly, even in the stormiest waters. Ultimately, the secret of prudence is the secret to a well-lived life. It is not about eliminating emotions but knowing how to coexist with them harmoniously. Like a conductor orchestrating a symphony, prudence allows each emotion to have its place without ever losing control of the baton. This is the true act of acting with wisdom. Lesson 4. The Invisible Warrior, the internal battle between emotion and wisdom. Imagine a warrior who does not wield swords, does not wear iron armor, and does not ride in open fields. He is invisible because his battle takes place in the silent realm of the mind. This warrior does not fight against external enemies but confronts subtle and powerful forces that dwell within us, unrestrained emotions and momentary impulses. His greatest adversary is his own reaction, his natural inclination to act without thinking, driven by emotion. And his greatest victory is conquering himself. In Stoic philosophy, this invisible warrior represents each of us. Every day presents us with invisible battles where anger, fear, envy, or desire threaten to take control of our actions. Wisdom, in this context, is like the invisible sword of the warrior, sharpened by reflection, strengthened by self-control, and guided by reason. When we allow emotion to guide our actions, we become prisoners of the moment. In the heat of impulse, we act without considering the consequences, responding reactively. Emotion is insidious, often disguising itself as urgency, as if we need to react immediately, with no time for reflection. But, as Marcus Aurelius teaches us, the soul is colored by the tints of its thoughts. When our actions are driven by emotion, these colors become smudges, erasing the clarity and tranquility that arise from a peaceful mind. The invisible warrior is one who, amid the internal battle, has the courage to pause. He does not rush into action but remains attentive and observant. He understands that, most of the time, the urgency that emotion imposes is an illusion. True strength lies not in responding immediately, but in knowing when to wait for the right moment. Hesitating in the face of anger or fear is not an act of weakness, it is an act of wisdom. Discernment is the key to winning this internal battle. When we are dominated by emotion, our perception distorts. What seems like a personal attack is often just an exaggerated interpretation. What appears to be an unforgivable offense is frequently a misunderstood situation. The invisible warrior, by developing discernment, learns to distinguish between reality and the fiction created by emotional thinking. Seneca teaches us that most of human suffering is manufactured by our own minds. This means that by allowing emotion to control our actions, we are surrendering our freedom to an illusory construct. The invisible warrior, on the other hand, keeps his freedom intact. He observes his thoughts and emotions as one observes clouds in the sky. They pass, change shape, and eventually dissipate. The invisible warrior chooses to act wisely, even when emotion cries out for immediate action. He understands that true strength is not about responding to every provocation, but about choosing the battles that truly matter. In his meditations, Marcus Aurelius constantly reflected on the power of self-control. The art of living is more like wrestling than dancing, for it requires being always alert, prepared to respond to the unexpected. The invisible warrior is always on guard, not against others but against his own thoughtless reactions. He knows that by conquering his emotions, he also gains the freedom to act according to his reason, rather than his impulses. The true victory of the invisible warrior is not the absence of emotion, but the ability not to be dominated by it. He feels anger but does not act with anger. He feels fear but is not controlled by fear. He understands that emotions are part of the human experience, but his wisdom lies in channeling them constructively, transforming them into fuel for actions that reflect his deepest values. Ultimately, the battle we fight every day is between what we feel and what we know to be right. The invisible warrior, by becoming the master of himself, realizes that emotion, no matter how intense, is temporary. Wisdom, on the other hand, is a constant choice, a daily practice that, when cultivated, leads us to true freedom. Lesson 5. The Echo of Tranquility. True wisdom does not reveal itself in the heat of reaction, but in the silent space between stimulus and response. This Stoic secret invites us to seek a pause, a moment of reflection before any action. The pause, which at first glance may seem like hesitation, is in reality the greatest demonstration of strength and clarity that a human being can possess. Acting on emotion is like sailing in a turbulent sea. The waves of anger, anxiety, and fear crash violently, blinding us to the right direction. When we make decisions in the heat of these emotions, it is as if we are sailors adrift, guided only by the impulse of the moment. Stoicism, however, teaches us that the sea of emotions can be observed calmly, and that, even amid storms, it is possible to keep a steady helm, without succumbing to the chaos that surrounds us. The pause between impulse and action is where the true strength of being resides. In that brief moment of internal silence, we have the opportunity to choose. The choice is always ours, even when external circumstances try to convince us otherwise. Stoicism does not deny the existence of emotion. It is part of the human experience. But it teaches that it does not need to control us. It is in that instant of pause, in this echo of tranquility, that we can distance ourselves from automatic reactions and opt for wise action. Imagine you are in a situation where someone provokes you, seeking to elicit an aggressive or impulsive response. The natural impulse would be to retaliate, to respond in kind, as our primal instinct drives us to act on emotion, to defend our ego and pride. But Stoic wisdom teaches us that, before responding, we must create a mental space where reason can flourish. In that interval, however brief, we find the chance to reflect. Does this action reflect who I really am? Will it bring me peace or regret? The pause is not cowardice, it is a conscious choice. In that space of silence, wisdom emerges like a beacon amid emotional storms. Seneca, one of the great masters of Stoicism, said that anger, even when justified, is a weakness. Each pause is a victory. Each moment of reflection is an achievement. This path of self-mastery leads the invisible warrior to a life of freedom, where choices are guided by reason and not by fleeting impulses. In the end, the secret lies in the courage to resist urgency and cultivate patience and clarity, which provides us with a more balanced life, at peace with ourselves. The internal silence, the echo of tranquility, is our silent guide, allowing us to see what truly matters so that our actions reflect our essence and not the heat of a passing emotion. With this, we build a solid foundation to face any challenge that arises, remaining steadfast and anchored regardless of the emotional storms that may cross our path. Lesson 6. The mirror that doesn't lie. When we encounter moments of tension, uncertainty, or even passion, we often look outward, seeking answers or justifications in external circumstances. We are quick to blame the world, the people around us, and unexpected events that seem to push us against the wall. But in reality, the true reflection of what is happening is not outside, but within us. The mirror that doesn't lie is our own mind. It reveals, mercilessly, who we are in our moments of emotion. If we act with anger, fear, or confusion, the mirror simply reflects back what we project. The Stoic secret is precisely this: internal reflection before acting. Before any word or movement, we must look within. Emotion, while powerful and often irresistible, should not be the only force guiding our decisions. It can be a temporary compass, but never the complete map. As Marcus Aurelius teaches us, the soul is reflected in what you decide, not in what you feel. The mirror that doesn't lie also reveals our patterns. How many times have we acted impulsively and later regretted it? How many decisions made in the heat of the moment have led to consequences that could have been avoided? The mirror does not judge us, but shows us the truth. It is up to us, with this truth, to reflect and do differently next time. Therefore, the daily practice should be this: before acting, look in the mirror, not the physical reflection, but the reflection of your mind. Ask yourself, am I acting out of emotion or reason? Wait, give time for the reflection to stabilize, for the waters to calm, and then act. Action taken after reflection is always wiser than that which arises in the heat of the moment. What does this mean? It means that no matter how much emotion is part of us, our true essence reveals itself in the choices we make and the actions we take after the emotion passes. Imagine yourself in front of a mirror. This mirror reflects not only your appearance but also your essence. When you are angry, that mirror reflects a distorted visage, furrowed brows, a hard gaze. When you are sad, the countenance changes, the shoulders sag, the eyes lose their sparkle. But the mirror doesn't lie. It only reflects what you are projecting. What it reflects is not a definitive truth, but a passing moment. Stoic wisdom teaches us that emotion is a part of us, but it should not be the part that governs our actions. It is like a guest in our house. We should listen to it but not allow it to take control. The secret to not acting out of emotion, but with wisdom, lies in the ability to distinguish the momentary reflection from the permanent reality. When anger arises, it reflects a reaction to an event. Perhaps someone said something that hurt us. Our first reaction is to defend, to attack, to return the offense with more offense. However, by looking in the mirror of reason, we realize that this emotion is temporary. Anger, if left alone, dissipates. If fed, it grows. It is up to us to decide which path to follow. The Stoic practice suggests a pause between feeling and action. This pause is where wisdom is born. Epictetus, in his teachings, said, "It is not the events that disturb us, but the opinions we have about them." The internal mirror clearly reflects this idea. When something happens, emotion arises as a primitive response, but it is up to us to interpret that occurrence. If we let emotion be the only voice, our vision will be limited. If, on the contrary, we let reason speak, we open a broader field of understanding. Lesson 7. The weight of controlled emotion. Emotion is like a fire that burns within us. When fed uncontrollably, this fire can consume everything around it, reducing it to ashes. However, if well controlled, it becomes the light that illuminates our path in darkness, the flame that warms our soul on life's cold nights. The true secret is not to extinguish emotion, but to learn to control it and use it wisely and deliberately. The human mind, in its essence, is like a temple that must be kept in harmony. Emotions can be invited in, but they should never take center stage in the sanctuary. Acting impulsively allows chaos to reign where order should prevail. When we let ourselves be carried away by irrational impulses, we lose clear sight of what truly matters and become blinded by momentary fire, ignoring the consequences that may arise once the internal storm calms. Stoicism teaches us that true strength lies in moderation and balance. The soul should not be shaken by violent emotions. Instead, these should be controlled and calmed. Herein lies the wisdom, to recognize the moment when the fire of emotions begins to grow, and instead of feeding it, take control by reducing its intensity and transforming it into a flame that warms but does not destroy. When controlled, emotion ceases to be a destructive force and becomes a tool that illuminates our path. Imagine, for a moment, a lit candle in a dark room. This small flame represents emotion. At first glance, it may seem harmless, but if left uncontrolled, it can spread and consume everything around it. Now visualize someone wisely adjusting the size of the flame, neither too high nor too low, but just right to illuminate without causing damage. This is what wisdom does with our emotions. The wise do not ignore them but observe and utilize them constructively. Unlike someone who acts impulsively, driven by the heat of the moment, the wise person waits, reflects, and then acts. They understand that emotions are transient and that calmness and clarity of thought are permanent. Let's take anger as an example. When we are provoked or treated unjustly, our natural first reaction is an emotional outburst. We want to respond with the same intensity and return the offense with sharp words or hasty actions. However, this is the trap of uncontrolled emotion. An impulsive reaction fueled by anger not only harms us, but also prevents us from seeing the situation as a whole. It is like trying to solve a problem in a smoke-filled room, where the vision is blurred, and our decisions become inaccurate. Stoicism proposes another path: controlling anger, moderation. Instead of responding immediately, we should mentally step back from the situation and observe. Marcus Aurelius said, "The best revenge is not to be like the one who injured you." This phrase captures the power of action guided by reason. When we act wisely, we maintain our dignity intact while the fire of anger extinguishes itself. Wisdom frees us from the vicious cycle of aggression and reaction. The true secret is not to act impulsively but with wisdom, understanding that emotions are not the problem. They are part of our human nature and, in many cases, important signals. Anger, for example, can show us that something is wrong or that we have been treated unjustly. Fear can alert us to imminent danger, and sadness can make us reflect on the value of the things we have lost. However, what differentiates the wise from the reckless is the ability to transform these emotions into wisdom. When we feel anger, we should convert it into assertiveness and calm. When fear hits us, we should transform it into caution, but never into paralysis. When sadness finds us, we can use it as a reminder of life's impermanence and the importance of valuing each moment. Wisdom is the alchemy that transforms the wild fire of emotions into a light that guides our steps with serenity. The daily practice of Stoic philosophy involves precisely this: conscious observation of emotions and deliberate choice of our responses. Upon waking, we should reflect on the emotional challenges we may face throughout the day. Perhaps someone will irritate us, or something won't go as planned. By anticipating these situations, we mentally prepare ourselves not to react impulsively. Marcus Aurelius, in his Meditations, advised, "When you wake up in the morning, tell yourself, 'I will meet busybodies, ungrateful, arrogant, dishonest, envious, and grumpy people.'" This mental preparation strengthens us and allows us to maintain serenity, even in situations that would normally throw us off balance. At the end of the day, the practice of reflection helps us review our emotional actions. Ask yourself, did I react wisely today? Were there moments when emotion dominated my reason? This self-analysis is essential for growth and for building a strong and resilient mind. The weight of controlled emotion is a light burden to carry, as it does not overwhelm us with regrets or impulsive mistakes. By acting wisely and controlling the inner fire, we free ourselves from the chains of impulse and become true masters of our actions. Stoicism does not teach us to suppress what we feel, but to transform our emotions into something powerful and directed. When you control your emotions, you do not act in the heat of the moment, but in clarity of thought. It is in this clarity that true wisdom resides. If you have made it this far, congratulations for dedicating this time to your own transformation. Now you know the Stoic secrets to act wisely, without being a hostage to emotions. Remember that daily practice is what transforms these lessons into powerful tools for your life. At every moment, before every challenge, you have the choice to act with calm and clarity, without being swept away by the storm of impulses. If you watched until the end, comment down below gratitude. This will show that you are committed to your journey of self-mastery. Don't forget to leave your like and subscribe to the channel. Turn on the notification bell so you don't miss any content, and together, we will continue cultivating Stoic wisdom in our daily lives. I hope to see you in the next video. Goodbye.